Kia ora, I'm Pat, and this is the Happiness Spectrum. This is the ninth and final in this short series of talks on personal management and how to live a life worth living and be happy. In previous talks, I've suggested that happiness comes when we meet personal expectations, when we have purpose and passion and live a life worth living. Stuff happens, and sometimes we don't meet these expectations. This can be caused by internal or external factors that impact upon our emotions. The happiness spectrum is a way to illustrate the changing nature of happiness. We can, to a degree, manage this process of change in a positive way. Previous talks have suggested some ways to help manage this process of change, to help quantify expectations through setting objectives and making them realistic. When we do something and it works, we feel good. I've also suggested that strength-based values are essential as we relate to other people. Personally, my relationship with our environment is also essential to my happiness, and I suspect it is also the case for others. I've also suggested that most people gain a lot of happiness when they share values, expectations, objectives with others. When we have shared understanding, work together on a project or campaign, or share experiences, when we collaborate with others. In this final talk, I'll talk about the 3 C's: connect, communicate, and collaborate. It's not that you can't achieve your expectations on your own, but we are social animals and organise ourselves into groups, be it family, tribe, project team, country, club, committee, party, class, etc. We connect in many ways to become part of these groups so that we can collaborate to meet shared expectations. But how good are we at communicating with each other? In many work settings, I've had to review CVs, and often there's a phrase, "I'm a good communicator," sometimes meaning, "I'm a good talker," or "a good presenter." However, communication is a two-way process. Collaborative communication requires active listening. Active listening is about taking responsibility to understand the content and feeling of what is being said by others. Active listening is also about enabling the conversation in ways that allow the other person to fully develop and express their content and feelings. It's a skill that some interviewers have and requires you to listen for at least 50% of the time, minimizing what you say about yourself or your feelings. And there are 4 components to active listening: attending, reflecting back content, summarizing, and reflecting back emotions. When you are attending, your full attention is focused on the other person speaking, both what they are saying and feeling. Listening often goes like this. And if you want to see a diagram of this, then you go to the website happinessspectrum.jimdofree.com. Person A is speaking to person B. Person B listens. Person B reflects. Person B listens. All the time whilst person A is speaking. Person B then evaluates and then listens again. Person A is still talking. Person B then thinks of a response that builds on what person A is speaking about. Person B still listens. Person B rehearses words of response, still listening, and then waits for a cue and then speaks that supports person A. However, I've often heard conversation where the listening person focuses on the thinking of a response stage, what they are going to say, usually about themselves or what they have done, failing to listen to the other person and failing to help build their content. It can sound a bit like verbal table tennis, where there's person ping and there's person pong. Person ping says, "I did this." Person pong said, "I did that." Ping says, "I went here." Pong said, "I went there." They're basically parallel monologues. When you're thinking of a response, make sure it's about what the other person is saying and try not to talk about yourself. Non-verbal communication is also an important aspect of attending, both in understanding content and emotion, but also in achieving rapport. 7% weight is carried by the actual words spoken, 38% is represented by the tone of speech, and an amazing 55% of communication is represented by non-verbal body language. Next stage, reflecting back content. This tests understanding and demonstrates listening. Don't parrot the talker, but question in a way that builds the conversation whilst checking it. Don't do too much of it, otherwise you can have great clarity but little content. Summarizing is helpful in clarifying what has been covered. If it's a conversation about a collaboration, it's also helpful in assessing progress, to refocus on the purpose of the collaboration if necessary. We're very good at digressing. Summarizing also helps minimize misunderstanding. The receiving of feelings as well as words is part of active listening. It's important, therefore, to reflect back emotions. Emotions are always present when people get together, although it's sometimes difficult to work out what they are. If you're collaborating on something, it's important to understand how the other person is feeling. If they have strong emotions about something, then it's important to validate these emotions, even if you do not agree with them. Equally, it's important to gauge if there is a gap between their words and their emotions. Do you share the same values and passions, or is it just empty rhetoric? This is important if you're working together on something. This is sometimes called the arc of distortion, and there's a graphic of this on the website happinessspectrum.jimdofree.com. A good communicator is an active listener, someone who is able to encourage, to facilitate a conversation that builds the content from the other person, that develops a shared understanding of that content, but also of their values and emotions. It's someone who can limit the time they speak about themselves. It's not all about me. It can be amazing how little you know about even the best of friends. Try some of the active listening skills I've mentioned on a friend and see what you can find out. In the nicest and happiest of ways, of course. Try it. Remember, you can find out about active listening on the website happinessspectrum.jimdofree.com. A life worth living usually involves collaborating with others, doing stuff with others. Successful collaboration with shared purpose and passion can be some of the happiest times. Thank you. I welcome feedback, so if you want to contact me, again, go to the website happinessspectrum.jimdofree.com. Bye-bye.